Stanley McChrystal said in an interview, quote, "I am not sure it was a mistake moving to a volunteer army because the volunteer army I served in was this extraordinary fighting machine. But having said that, I now believe we need a draft. The idea of having a military draft is one of the most debated topics in this country. It has been risen on several occasions, one of them being the Vietnam War," end quote. In this case, the affirmative team will be showing why we need a mandatory draft and what good could come from reinstituting this draft. We will present to you harms, a plan, and advantages. We stand to resolve that the U.S. should reinstitute the mandatory military draft. First, let's lay out some definitions. United States. The United States is a federal republic comprising 50 states in the Federal District of Columbia. Oxford Dictionary. Reinstitute, to bring back into use or practice. Dictionary reference. Mandatory, required by law or rules. Oxford Dictionary. Military, the armed forces of a country. Oxford Dictionary. Military draft is the enforcement by the government of its constitutional right to require all citizens of sufficient age and capacity to enter the military service of the country. USLegal.com. This leads me into my harms. Harm 1. Americans are not sharing the military burden. On January 31st, Mona Chalabi reported, quote, "According to the latest numbers from the Defense Manpower Data Center, a body of the Department of Defense, 0.4% of the American population is active military personnel." End quote. This means that the American citizens that are in the U.S. military are unfairly burdened with the weight of war. Harm 2. Not enough men and women in the Army. On July 2000, Charles Moskowitz, a former draftee, stated, quote, "No problem is more serious in our armed forces than the recruitment and retention. Even without such personal shortages, the services are too understrengthened to meet the needs of the post-Cold War era. The only way to resolve these problems is to bring back the draft. It is time to construct a conscription system that will both reinvigorate the citizen soldier and properly compensate the career force. The term of active duty would be short, say 18 months. There will be follow-on assignment to reserve component for 2 years." End quote. Women should join selective service or mandatory draft. According to the CNN staff, more than 200,000 women are in the active duty military, including 69 generals and admirals. A quick look at women in the military, according to Pentagon figures. Total numbers: about 203,000 in 2011, or 14.5% of the active duty force of nearly 1.4 million. Nearly 167,000 women were in enlisted ranks, making up 14.2% of that force. Harm 3. Multiple torts put strain on soldiers. Staff Sergeant Robert Bells reported, quote, "Crew stands suspected of gunning down 17 Afghan civilians, including 9 children, in a murderous March rampage, is likely to spotlight the unique toll that the repeated deployments to decade-long conflict in Iraq and Afghanistan have taken on American soldiers." End quote. PTSDs. On January 10, 2010, Mary Susan Littlepage stated, quote, "Soldiers with multiple deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan are more than 3 times as likely as soldiers with no previous deployments to screen positive for post-traumatic stress disorder and major depression, according to a new study published by the American Journal of Public Health." End quote. Lisa Stromberg reported on July 16, 2012, quote, "Over 18 veterans kill themselves every day due to stress and too many tours." This leads me to my plan. Enforcement. United States government. Agency. United States Department of Defense. Funding. The Department of Defense will see that our plan is properly funded. Mandate. 1. Every citizen who is mentally and physically able will serve from their 18th birthday to their 21st birthday. We reserve the right to specify our plan when necessary. Observation 4. Advantages. There is much good that can come from this draft. One being, the U.S. military forces will expand. According to www.globalfirepower.com, China's available military manpower is 2,333,000 people in 2014. USA's available military manpower is 1,400,000 people in 2014. Another one is that it will create equality among genders. The Army has only 69% of jobs available to women. There is a clear inequality in genders in the military. With the military so willing to ignore these equal standards, one must wonder, does the military have a double standard when it comes to gender equality? Third blessing that comes from reinstituting this draft is that citizens will be given back to the country. Placing young adults in the military will give them appreciation for their freedom. Instead of taking their freedom for granted, they will realize that it comes at a cost. This cost is hard work. Certainly, the ability to work hard is under the skill set of American citizens. If the citizens of the United States are capable of forging appreciation for their country, it is only logical to give them the opportunity to do so. Reinstitution benefits military marriages. The perpetual cycle of coming and going also has exacted a hard toll on marriages. The number of military divorces is climbing and surpassing the civilian rate. countering research from early in the Iraq War that suggested soldiers who deployed tended to have more resilient marriages. The Pentagon's latest reports show the annual military divorce rate at 3.7%, its highest point since 1999 and greater than the 3.5% civilian rate. This means that 3.7% of all military marriages end in divorce in any given year. In conclusion, the burden each soldier must bear is inexcusable and unacceptable. It is evident that the volunteer system has major problems. These harms are tearing away at the soldiers and even the military as a whole. But there is hope. We have a plan to solve these problems and create more equitable military. Because of this injustice to American systems, we urge you to give an affirmative ballot. Thank you. I now stand for cross-examination.
Okay. Now, typically at this point in time, hold on, Isabella, you would have to get up right away and question him. But I feel like we need to let's give them a minute or two to talk among themselves, okay? But just so you know, typically it's right afterwards you go. But let's just do that. Okay, go.